Have you ever touched a plant and thought, this looks harmless? What if I told you that some of the most beautiful plants sold in garden stores can be dangerous to your health, even in small amounts? There's a comfortable lie most people believe when they walk into a nursery. If it's being sold, it must be safe. But what if the most dangerous plants are the ones that look the most innocent? Today, I'm revealing 11 plants that seem harmless, but can seriously harm people and pets if you don't know what you're dealing with. And one of them is so common that you've probably seen it on balconies, porches, or inside homes. Stay until the end, because after this video, you'll never walk through a garden center the same way again. Let's start with a plant that looks like it belongs in a magazine cover. Number 1. Anthurium shows up in the most predictable places of everyday life. Clinic lobbies, office counters, living room tables, and even that little home gardening corner people create to bring life into the space. In urban gardening projects and small garden ideas, it becomes an automatic choice because it's beautiful, hardy, and gives off the impression of being harmless. Those starting in beginner gardening fall easily into this visual trap, thinking that if it's everywhere, it can't possibly be dangerous. But beauty can be deceiving, and this is one of the most common garden mistakes made by people who step into the world of gardening without anyone telling them what truly matters. The hidden detail, one of those never-told secrets they don't want you to know on nursery labels, is that anthurium contains microscopic crystals that irritate the mouth and throat when chewed, something especially dangerous for curious children and pets that decide to test the plant. A careful gardener usually replaces anthurium with natural and safer alternatives, such as orchids or certain non-toxic bromeliads, keeping the beautiful look without unnecessary risk. This is ancient knowledge, almost forgotten and partially erased from modern conversations about gardening tips. But once rediscovered, it changes the way plants are chosen, and trains the eye to realize that not every garden plant is automatically safe. Number 2. Oleander is one of those plants that look like they came straight out of a magazine cover. Vibrant flowers, neat leaves, and a cinematic movie garden vibe that charms anyone who enjoys backyard gardening. In home gardening and urban gardening projects, it often becomes the highlight because it grows well, tolerates strong sun, and gives that finished landscaping look with very little effort. For those in beginner gardening, it's easy to confuse beauty and resilience with safety, as if an elegant appearance were a natural stamp of approval that everything is fine. Oleander's extreme toxicity. Every part of the plant is poisonous, and even the smoke from burning it can cause serious heart problems. A more experienced gardener, who has learned to avoid garden mistakes the hard way, prefers natural and safer alternatives like hibiscus or manuka trees, which offer color and presence without putting the family at risk. This care comes from ancient knowledge, almost lost and later suppressed by the rush of modern gardening, and it changes how magazine plants are chosen, while raising a red flag about those that easily spread over walls and balconies in everyday life. Number 3. English ivy is everywhere. Old walls covered in green, apartment balconies craving a bit of life, fences that look better once they're wrapped in a veil of leaves. In backyard gardening and urban gardening, it becomes a quick fix to hide ugly walls and create the feeling of a full garden without spending much. People just getting into gardening for beginners often choose ivy because of its fast growth, thinking they've found a powerful, almost free trick to fix the look of a space without much effort. Ivy can cause skin irritation just from contact and can bring real problems if pets chew on the leaves. It's not uncommon for dogs and cats to get sick after playing near ivy-covered walls, and then that easy green turns into a headache. A careful gardener replaces ivy with natural and safer options like pothos or ferns, keeping the green wall effect without falling into these garden mistakes. And it leaves a quiet warning about those beautiful plants that carry a medicinal reputation. Number 4. Foxglove draws attention from afar. Bell-shaped flowers, tall stems, and an almost magical look that shows up in European-style garden photos. In more romantic backyard gardening and in home gardening projects inspired by magazines, it appears as a symbol of natural elegance. Those starting in gardening for beginners see the plant as something powerful and special, almost a landscaping secret that few people know, and end up wanting to recreate that look at home without thinking twice. The hidden detail, and partly never told, is that foxglove contains substances that, in controlled doses, become medicine. but in the backyard become danger. The same feature that makes it medicinal can cause serious heart rhythm problems if someone eats the leaves or flowers without control, which is a real risk for curious children and pets. A careful gardener prefers natural and safer alternatives like snapdragons, which keep the vertical beauty without that banned danger freely sitting in the garden. This ancient knowledge, almost lost and later suppressed by landscaping trends, changes how people see what is natural and leaves a question in the air about houseplants that seem harmless. Number 5. Peace lilies have become standard apartment decor. They sit on living room tables, shelves by the window, and in office corners that need a touch of green. In home gardening and urban gardening, they're sold as no-fail plants, hardy and easy to care for. The kind of advice that constantly shows up in gardening tips for those starting in beginner gardening. People bring them home thinking they made the safest choice possible after all. It's an indoor plant, right there under control. The hidden detail is that peace lilies can cause strong irritation in the mouth and throat if pets chew on the leaves, which is common when cats get bored or dogs get curious. A careful gardener replaces them with natural and safer options like marantas, calatheas, or even a parlor palm, keeping the green indoors vibe without that unnecessary risk. Not every houseplant is as harmless as it looks, setting the stage for an even bigger shock ahead. Number 6. Castor bean plants often pop up in vacant lots, along fences, and even in wilder corners of backyard gardening, and many people don't even realize they're dealing with a cultivated plant. In some urban gardening projects, castor bean is used as a quick way to fill space, create shade, and add a tropical feel without much cost. For those in beginner gardening, the large leaves and fast growth feel like a powerful, almost natural and free trick to make the yard look full in no time. Instead of looking like a villain, the castor bean disguises itself as a robust decorative plant, and that's where the danger lives. The seeds contain one of the most potent toxins known, and just a few can cause serious harm to children and animals. This isn't alarmism. Real poisoning cases are documented, and they almost always start with the same story. Someone thought the plant looked beautiful and harmless. A careful gardener avoids these garden mistakes and chooses natural and safer alternatives like canis or elephant ear plants, which give the same dramatic effect without that banned risk lurking in the yard. Number 7. Dieffenbachia is almost everywhere, in homes, shops, and even in small backyard gardening corners that need easy greenery. In home gardening and urban gardening, it becomes the joker card plant, tough with low light and forgiving of missed watering. Perfect for the rushed routine of beginner gardening. No wonder it shows up so often in gardening tips for those who want a tropical look with little effort, as if it were the ready-made solution for any indoor space. Behind this reputation as a strong and practical plant, there's a risk many people ignore. When leaves or stems are chewed, the plant releases crystals that irritate the mouth and throat, causing swelling and pain, especially dangerous for curious children and playful pets. A careful gardener avoids these garden mistakes and replaces it with natural and safer options like parlor palms or Boston ferns, keeping the lush green look without that hidden danger around the house. And it sets the stage to realize how aesthetic choices directly affect the animals at home. Number 8. The sago palm shows up in many backyard gardening projects as a symbol of sophistication, symmetrical leaves, tropical vibes, and that imposing presence that turns a simple yard into something magazine-worthy. In urban gardening and home gardening, it often appears in large pots at the entrance of homes, giving off a sense of status and attention to aesthetics. Those starting in beginner gardening fall in love with the strong look, unaware that behind that organized beauty hides a risk that hits the ones who trust us the most: our pets. Not every danger makes noise. Some arrive quietly, disguised as elegant decor. The sago palm is extremely toxic to dogs and cats, and a single bite of the seeds or leaves can lead to liver failure within hours. These cases are more common than people think, but rarely show up in casual gardening tips. A careful gardener replaces it with natural and safer alternatives like areca palm or ponytail palm, avoiding these garden mistakes born from aesthetic neglect, while leaving a cultural curiosity about traditional plants everyone assumes are safe. Number 9. Azaleas and rhododendrons live in the collective imagination of classic gardens. They stand in front of old houses, fill well-kept squares, and appear in backyard gardening projects that aim for a romantic feel. In urban gardening, these plants become almost mandatory tradition, as if they were the right way to make a garden look beautiful. People entering gardening for beginners tend to trust these past references, believing that if they've always been used, they must be safe. A mental shortcut that leads to very common garden mistakes. Few people connect these delicate flowers to any kind of danger. But history hides a curious and slightly secret detail. The nectar of these plants can produce what's known as mad honey, which causes discomfort and drops in blood pressure. And the leaves and flowers can poison animals if ingested. A careful gardener chooses natural and safer alternatives like camellias or viburnum, keeping the classic look without that hidden danger around the yard. And it opens the door to questioning that exotic plant everyone buys at the nursery without thinking twice. Number 10. Desert rose has become a darling of nurseries and garden centers. Sculptural trunk, bold flowers, and an exotic look that makes people stop and say, "That's the one." In backyard gardening and home gardening, it becomes a focal point, perfect for small garden ideas with strong visual impact and little effort. Those in beginner gardening fall in love with its unusual appearance and feel like they've discovered a powerful landscaping secret to impress visitors. Behind that exotic charm lies a rarely told detail that changes everything. When injured, desert rose releases a toxic latex that can cause skin irritation and more serious reactions if ingested by pets or curious children. A careful gardener avoids these garden mistakes and chooses natural and safer alternatives like dwarf hibiscus or non-toxic succulents, keeping the exotic look without that hidden risk around the house. And it prepares the ground for an emotional closing about flowers that seem too beautiful to be dangerous. Number 11. Lilies hold a special place in many hearts. They appear in gift bouquets, decorate living room tables, and even enter home gardening projects to add a delicate touch. In urban gardening and backyard gardening, they carry the reputation of pure flowers, beautiful enough to raise no suspicion at all. Those in beginner gardening rarely associate this much beauty with danger at home, and that's where one of the most painful garden mistakes is discovered too late. It's precisely when everything seems harmless that danger hides best. Pollen, vase water, and any part of lilies can cause acute kidney failure in cats within hours, even without direct ingestion of the flower. A careful gardener replaces them with natural and safer options like orchids or roses, avoiding this hidden danger that catches families by surprise, leaving a hard revelation in the air. Many losses could be avoided if this knowledge hadn't been erased from everyday conversations. Before you go, here are 2 honorable mentions worth knowing. These plants are sold frequently in nurseries, often without clear toxicity warnings, and that's exactly why they catch people off guard. Bonus number 1, hydrangea. Hydrangeas contain cyanogenic glycosides, compounds that can release cyanide when chewed or ingested. In humans and children, this can cause nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and breathing difficulties. For pets, especially dogs, ingestion can lead to severe gastrointestinal distress, and in larger amounts, dangerous drops in oxygen levels. They look soft and harmless in gardens and bouquets, which is precisely why they're often underestimated. Bonus number 2. Angel's trumpet, Brugmansia suavolens. Angel's trumpet contains powerful tropane alkaloids such as scopolamine, atropine, and hyoscyamine. These compounds affect the nervous system and can cause hallucinations, confusion, rapid heart rate, seizures, and, in severe cases, respiratory failure. Every part of the plant is toxic, especially dangerous for children and curious pets. Despite this, it's commonly sold for its dramatic flowers and fragrance, often without clear warnings. These 2 are bonus dangers people rarely talk about. They're beautiful, common, and often mislabeled, which makes them risky in everyday gardens. Knowing this doesn't mean you fear plants. It means you choose with awareness. Now that you've seen these hidden risks, one thing becomes clear. Choosing plants is choosing the kind of environment you create around you. What to do, starting today? Save a short list of toxic plants on your phone and check it before every purchase. Look up the scientific name and toxicity in at least 2 reliable sources. Don't trust labels alone. If you have pets or children, keep toxic species out of living areas and replace them with proven safe plants. Review your home and backyard this week and remove what doesn't belong there. Choose safe alternatives for small garden ideas, backyard food, and indoor plants. Prevention is easier than handling an emergency. This care was partly erased by the rush of modern consumption, but it's still available to anyone who wants to cultivate consciously, protect those they love, and turn a garden into a truly safe space. And remember, these are not the only toxic plants out there. Nurseries sell many more without clear warnings, which is why knowing what you're bringing home matters. If this video opened your eyes to these hidden gardening secrets, subscribe to Forbidden Garden Secrets and turn on notifications. Here you'll learn what was forgotten, erased, and suppressed about growing with safety, awareness, and natural power.